Nothing specific about it. It's just, right, let's have a conversation, catch up, see what you've been up to, have a little chat, and then go from there.
Cool, man. Sounds great.
If that sounds good. Yeah, how are you anyway? What's been going on? Oh, it's been a while since,
Yeah,
what,
yeah,
three
I'm
years now
good.
almost?
Yeah, so, I don't know how much you remember, but I live in Nantucket, Massachusetts, which is a little island in the northeast of the US. And yeah, what's up, buddy?
There we go.
And yeah, so I'm out here for, a good part of the year, usually about, 7 or 8 months. This year a bit longer. I've been kind of making it a point to stick around a little bit longer. And
I
then
noticed that.
yeah, so usually like December, January, February, March are kind of like my months to travel and do some other things. And so yeah, kind of stuck around longer this year, but actually have a trip coming up in a couple weeks, going to Japan for a ski trip for
Oh,
about
it's
3 weeks.
sweet.
So pretty stoked on that, which is
Oh,
cool.
that'd be amazing. Me and my
Yeah,
girlfriend at
yeah.
the moment,
So
we're
what's
looking at
that?
doing a Me and my girlfriend, we're looking at doing a ski season next winter
Oh
in
yeah,
Japan.
cool, man.
Whereabouts in
Yeah,
Japan?
it's
North or?
So we're gonna go to the Miyako area, which I guess is kind of central Japan on the west side of the country, and then for part of the trip for about 8 days, and then we're gonna go to the North Island for the rest of the trip.
Oh,
So
so you're actually
checking out
traveling the
kind of
whole part.
what's that?
Just kind of you're traveling around from different resorts then, not just staying in the same resort.
Yeah, we're kind of like picking central areas because there's a lot of different resorts there, and it's fairly cheap compared to like what we're used to here in the U.S. So you can get like a day pass for a resort for a pretty reasonable price. And so yeah, part of the trip we're just gonna bounce around and go to different ones, and we rented a car in both spots so we can drive to different spots if we want.
Oh,
And yeah, I'm going with like a couple buddies from here, and yeah, it should be pretty cool. One of the guys has gone before, so he kind of knows a little bit about it. And yeah, pretty stoked. I grew up in Colorado, and I grew up skiing and snowboarding, and it's been a while since I've done that. I've started surfing a lot more these days, but
sweet.
I'm excited to get back in the mountains. So yeah,
Oh, there's no better feeling, honestly. Like from where we were, so since we last saw each other, like those all those years ago,
yeah,
I've been hitting the traveling a lot more. Met a beautiful girl, now proud to call my girlfriend. And then we did a summer season in Greece, and then from
nice.
there went to do a winter season afterwards. So we went to France, the Three Valleys, to do a winter season. And
Okay,
I'd snowboarded a tiny bit before, like with a residential of school, so like a school trip. And then
yeah,
from going out then and snowboarding then, I've, it just completely hooks you straight away, doesn't it? Like from when you were a kid, you get sucked into it, and you'll doesn't matter how
oh
much it
yeah,
costs. Every couple of years, whenever you see the season, like Instagrams and the pictures coming through, and friends who are out there on the slopes, you just want to go back every single time. And is that along with surfing is, as you know already, it just hooks you in, and it becomes very quickly something you have to schedule into your life.
yeah. I know. I mean, that's I always thought I would be in the mountains, because I grew up in Colorado. I lived in Aspen, Colorado for many years, and I always thought that would be like my end all be all. And then I discovered surfing, and I was like, oh yeah, ruined my
It's
life
like,
in a
oh,
good
okay.
way.
Yeah, it just takes over every other thought you have. It just
It
takes over, and it's like
it
it's great.
does. It
Do you
does.
get out surfing much then over in Nantucket, or can
Yeah,
you surf in
I mean
Nantucket?
here in Nantucket, we do have surf. This is where I started to learn how to surf when I moved out here, many years ago, and it's not super consistent, so you can't really
Mm.
surf every day, but it does get good. And sometimes you can surf maybe 3 or 4 times a week, something like that.
Are they on Surfline, the beach you go to?
Yeah, they have Nantucket's on Surfline. Yeah,
Yeah, because I bought Surfline because we're out in Australia now, like getting into our surfing a lot more.
yeah,
So I
I
just love
saw that,
just
huh? You're
checking
in
out the
Australia.
videos. Yeah,
That's sick,
what's
dude. Australia, I love Australia. It's awesome.
you been?
A long time ago, yeah, when I went to Australia when I was maybe 18, so it was like my
Yeah.
first big trip. So it was a long time ago, but I loved it there. It was great.
What did you do on your trip? Did you just do the travel around the whole country or stay in one area?
No, so it was a little different. It was kind of before I started doing all the travel stuff. Um, I used to play basketball when I was in high school and college. So I
Oh,
was
sweet.
actually on the Colorado All Star team, and
What?
yeah, yeah, and and so they actually had this big tournament down there where all the like different, I don't know, territories or states of Australia and all the different states in the U.S. all went down there and had this big tournament. So I was on the Colorado
No
team,
way.
and there was a bunch of other teams that were all there, and we played in this big tournament. And it wasn't like super, like a big deal tournament. It was more for
The
just the kids
experience.
to go and travel and see something new and different with the teams and stuff like that. So was there
Oh
for
my
about
god.
3 weeks, and it was one of those things where everything was planned out and we were with the group most of the time, and we did this and that as big groups and stuff. But it was super cool, and I remember a lot of fun stuff down there.
Go on. You've got to share now. Whereabouts were you?
Well, we stayed in Sydney and we stayed in the Gold Coast.
Oh, so you actually. Oh, that's perfect. That's where we are. We're in Sydney at the moment. I think
Okay,
at that
cool.
age, though, when you've got all your mates around you and you're absolutely living your life because you've got all your teammates around you, you're doing this, playing the sport that you love, and you're there on top of the world, thinking, "This is life. This is our trajectory now. Like pro basketball, traveling the world. We're going there.
Yeah. Yeah, it was
That's awesome."
cool, it was definitely, so a lot of the kids on the team I actually didn't even know, because it was kids from all over the state. It wasn't really kids that I actually played with at my home school or whatever. Um, so it was all like new friends and new people, and you kind
Yeah,
of gravitate towards certain little groups. And yeah, it's like you're 18, and down there, like in the US, you can't drink until you're 21. So it was like down there, you
yeah,
could like go out to the bars and do all these things. And yeah, it was super fun, man. I had a good time there. I'd love to go back as like more of an adult now, but I kind of missed that window of that at least for US citizens, up until 30 years old, you can go down there and work.
yeah.
And
It's the
it's
same
one
for
of the
the
few
UK.
places, yeah, it's one of the few places, as a US citizen, that you can actually do that. And I kinda missed that window, so but I'd love to go down there, and I'd love to also go to, New Zealand. That's, like, high on my list these days.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we're the same where we have that. I mean, they've just upped it to I think it's 33 now.
Oh, really?
For the UK citizens anyway, with the holiday
Oh,
visas.
nice.
So we're on a holiday
Yeah.
visa at the moment, and they extended it. So originally you had to do 1 year, do some quote unquote farm work. You get a second year, and then the same again for a third year. Now it just get 2 straight years off the bat. So we've got up to potentially 2 years here if we wanted
Yeah,
to
right
use all
on.
of it. I
Cool.
don't think. I mean, it's difficult to say though when it comes to saying missed the boat because you've got obviously you do photography and it's labeled
Yeah.
under as your own business. So
Yep.
you can get this so many different types of visas, especially if you're have your own business where you're bringing in money or you say you're bringing in money from other
Right.
countries.
Yeah,
They pretty much
yeah.
just
I
let you
mean,
stay in a lot of places.
sure, sure, yeah, and I don't even know what, I'm sure you could go travel there just as a travel visa too, but it would have been cool. I've had friends that have gone down there and like worked for like a year. They just get like a work visa for a year and they just live there for a year. Which I wish I
Yeah,
would have done that when I was like in my 20s. That would have been cool. But yeah,
yeah. Well, that's
I
why
did
we're
other
here now.
cool
That's what
things
we're
too.
doing, and that's what I want to get down to the roots of and ask you about because I can't wait to hear it. Because from speaking
Yeah,
to you when
man.
we're in Portugal and then seeing the pictures that you take, I like fell in love straight away with that idea of traveling around just with your camera, either on your own with a group of friends, and it's like capturing those areas is so good. Like me and Katie, we do a scrapbook just for ourselves, where we've got the Polaroid printer. We're just wherever we go, we try and like keep a log of it. Where it's obviously you've got
Yeah.
Instagram for stuff like that, but being able to look back at those memories of it from where you've been, that the photographs you take as well, like really do take you there, and it's like wow.
Oh, that's cool,
And
man. I appreciate that. Yeah.
we spoke a lot
Yeah.
about it in Portugal, and I was probably chewing your ear off and just annoying you because I was just so
No,
interested.
no. I love it.
And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I do the podcast now. Well, I just started it for no reason other than to speak to people I think who've lived interesting lives and see what they've done and their story.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's really
thinking to
cool, man. I
yourself
like
where
that.
from where you were telling me beforehand all about your Tetris tournaments when you were a kid, and then now hearing about your basketball and then the travel that you've done as well. It's
Yeah,
just
well,
like wow.
it's funny, the Tetris thing's in the news recently because, I'm sure you've probably seen the kid who, like, beat the Tetris game, so, like,
I saw it on your story, yeah, and I sent you a
yeah,
message over. I was like, no way.
yeah, yeah. So it's, like, it's funny because all these people have, like, reached out like that I haven't heard from in a really long time. And they're like, "Oh man, Tozer, this guy beat the Tetris. You could have been that guy." And I was like, "He's a prodigy, man. Like he earns it." But
Does
yeah.
it give you a buzz then to take you? Does it take you back when you talk about the Tetris stuff and you see that you're still interested in it? You still like keep not
Uh,
obviously
you
keep an eye
know,
on it because you've got a whole load of other things you're doing now, but there's like a soft spot in
yeah.
your heart for the old
I
school
mean, it
retro
was
video
just
games.
it was just kind of a funny thing. Like I always used it as kind of just like a funny thing to, you know, say to girls and say to people and like, it's like, "Hey, do you know anybody in the top 10 at anything?" Well, now you do. Like so I mean that was kind of just it wasn't really like a big part of my life or anything. I just happened to be good at it and yeah,
Well,
I
that's where
actually
you
watched
get that with you come
Go
across as
ahead.
one of those people though, where obviously you're now known from your basketball as well, and then also Tetris and whatever it is you do. It's like some people just have that ability to focus in and hone in on one thing, and they just get really good at it really quickly just because they're passionate about it. And they might drop it later on; it doesn't really matter. It's just like that
Yeah.
focus being there is that key part with yourself. I just found it like bizarre because it doesn't matter what it is; it doesn't even have to be related at all. Like with yourself
Right.
saying what Tetris, basketball, photography, and surfing, snowboarding. It's like, right, you're just gonna get good at these things, and it's like that mentality I love about people, especially people you meet a lot whilst traveling, where for whatever reason they just like get hooked on something, and it's like, right, this is me now for the next at least 6 months. I'm gonna go
Yeah, I
all in.
mean, totally. I mean, I'm very much that way, with things that interest me, whatever they may be. It's sometimes a little, when you find something you really like and you're into it, it's like kind of have like an obsessive personality toward it. And, like
Yeah,
surfing was like that for me. Definitely sports when I was young was like that. Snowboarding used to be like that for me when I was growing up. Um, Photography for sure. That was one of the things that I was just like so into for so many years. And I still am, of course. And yeah, but sometimes new things come up and you switch your focus on to other things. And yeah, so I always try to keep an open mind when it comes to stuff like that.
of
But
course. Well,
yeah.
that's the beauty of it, though. I suppose you don't have to be stuck into it. Like I feel a lot of people when they are really passionate about something at a young age, they say, "Okay, this is me now. I've got to
Yeah.
stick with this." And it's like, well, yeah, but if you lose, maybe not even lose the passion for it, but you find something else which interests you, that's the beauty of it. You can just take that and run. Like for yourself,
Yeah.
when that photography came over, that wave of photography came in to your head and heart prominently, you took that and it took you all around the world of what you were doing, just for the pure fun of it.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's like
totally. And yeah, it really has opened up so many doors, just thinking about things like that in that way, definitely opens up a lot of doors and you end up in places that you would never think you would end up in. And obviously meet people you never thought you would meet. And so, yeah,
points
I
in
think
case.
yeah, exactly. So I think it goes with all aspects of life. As long as you can keep an open mind about whatever you're doing, then good things will probably happen to you.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, if you're, as you know already, if you're closed off from these things, you're never going to see the beauty and the wonder in them. They're just not
Yeah,
going
for
to be
sure, man.
what's
You got
apparently
it.
visible for so many people. It's just shut off from you if you haven't got that at least openness to be receptive to it.
Yeah, and as I get older, I just try to focus more on that, because you start
Yeah,
falling into routines and things like that, and just like it's like, just gotta hold on to that. Just you have to like more consciously think of it, I guess, than
yeah,
just go with it.
exactly
But
that. I
yeah, it's
mean,
good.
yeah, that's
What's
great.
that?
Also, so going into
Yeah.
it then, from obviously you said starting off, obviously the Tetris was just like a little thing when you were younger, and obviously that
Yeah.
Australia basketball I was just hearing of, which just sounds just amazing.
Yeah.
What was it? Was that? What was the? Or can you think of a moment in particular where like, right, this is going to set off your traveling? Like, where did you start? Where did you want to go? I'm sure you had a list back then, and you
Yeah,
have a
I
list
mean,
now of the top places.
yeah, I mean, I was really so I grew up in a really small town in Colorado. My graduating high school class was like 40 people. We
Oh
had,
wow,
dirt roads and no stoplights or anything like that. So it was a really small town. Like my whole entire town was like 2,500 people. Um, so I was always pretty adventurous. Even when I was a kid, I thought traveling, I always kind of wanted to get out of my hometown. I wanted to go
yeah,
see new things, any excuse. Like I remember when I got my driver's license, I would just take road trips for like a day or two. And, so I had always been like really like wanting to like travel. My dad was really kind of, and my mom, they both like, love to do like road trips and go
Yeah.
places and travel and stuff. Not internationally, but more like domestically, like maybe we would drive a couple hours and go camping or something like that, right? And so yeah, I was really into it, right? Even from like a younger age. And then once I graduated high school, I decided I wanted to do some traveling. So I actually moved to Aspen. So I went to school to uni for 2 years and didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. And I
Yeah.
didn't really want to like go through all the uni and then the traditional life of just going through uni and then getting a job and then working
Yeah.
forever and then
There's
retiring someday, like that,
It
none of
doesn't
that
quite
appealed to
appeal to
me.
the free spirit. No, I'm
Yeah, just
exactly the
like I was
same.
like, I don't that doesn't sound good at all, Like, I mean, to each their own. I think to each their own. If that makes you
Yeah.
happy and that's what you want, go for it. But I definitely was like, no, that doesn't really sound like something I want to do. So I ended up moving to Aspen, Colorado, which is a ski town. And got a job working there. I was a lifty, and then I started working in restaurants. I waited tables and bartended and all that kind of stuff. And the cool part about that was I could make enough money to save for the off season to travel, right? So you
Yeah.
could, and up there, you basically have two seasons. You have the winter season and you have the summer season. And then in between both of those, like the spring and the fall, you usually get about 4 to 6 weeks off. That's kind of the
Oh, it's
downtime.
beautiful. Nice.
So I would just, I would work, and I mean, it wasn't making much money, but at the time, it was enough to like, maybe I could save 3 or 4 thousand bucks over the whole
Yeah.
season, and then just go as cheaply as possible, fly somewhere, dirtbag backpacker, staying in the cheapest place as possible,
But that's
and
you get so many
eating the cheapest
experiences from
food or
that though.
whatever. So,
Yeah. Doing anything you
so I
can
did,
just about the skin of your teeth.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I remember doing trips for like, I'd be gone for 2 months and spend like. And, like, even with a little splurging, I would spend, like, $2,000, and it was just I mean, it's more expensive now than it was back then, but yeah, it was super fun, and so every spring, every fall, it was always about, like, just going to a new place, checking out a new
Yeah.
thing, and I'd always, like, try to get buddies or somebody to come along with me, but a lot of times people would be, they'd be like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah, let's do it," and then when it comes down to it, they're like, "Nah, can't really make it
Oh,
work," and I would just end up
story of
going
my
I would
life.
just go solo, and I kinda got used to going solo, so I did a lot of the stuff solo for years, and I've done trips with, like, girlfriends and buddies and things like that as well. But
Yeah.
um, for instance, when I was in Portugal, like that was solo. I was just like, I want to
Yeah.
go, I want to check it out. And it's fun when you can go. There's pros and cons to each, I would say. But when you're solo, it kind of forces you out of your comfort zone. It kind of forces you to like be social and
Yeah.
talk to people and meet new people and all that kind of stuff. So it can be fun.
Oh, of course. I mean, we have that same. I had that sort of inner debate, a dialogue in my own head when coming out to Australia, where obviously I'm coming out now with Katie, my girlfriend,
Yeah,
and it's beforehand I had that dream of going to Australia and traveling around in the van with a buddy of mine, or just on my own, and that was since pre-COVID. That was my like the be all and end all dream with travel
yeah,
for me. It was like right, that's I've heard all the stories. I've known people who've done it beforehand, and I'm like that is just the ultimate pinnacle. And then in my head, I was thinking, okay, I know it's going to be different, and you just don't realize how different it's going to be. Where everyone always has that craving for somewhat of social connection with someone to
yeah,
varying degrees at different times. When you've got a
sure.
partner with you by your side, you don't feel as much of a need every Friday or Saturday to go out and party or to
Oh no,
make
totally.
so much
Yeah,
of an extensive effort to go out and do something social with other people. And you
yeah.
don't mind. It's different, but
But that's
they both
fun
have their own
too
place.
because yeah, it's fun too. It's definitely a different travel experience. And you'll find out pretty quickly if you guys are like compatible because when you travel with somebody, especially like, a girlfriend or something that you're like
Yeah.
intimate with, like you can find out pretty quick like what makes the other person not so happy and
Oh, yeah.
and
Well, so
and if you can travel well together, then you guys will be pretty good, I would say long term.
that's what we hope. So we met in Greece, and we went out single, and she didn't come until later on. So I had a lot of fun, let's just say,
Yeah.
beforehand at the beginning of the summer for the first month and a half, 2 months.
Yeah.
And then when she got there, it was pretty much like we just spent all of our time together from there. And then I went
Yeah.
home, and she stayed out for the off season. And there was an
Mhm.
October half term. I came back out, and we made it official then. And as soon as we made it official, I basically had a season job, a job for it on season in France already lined up. So I was like, okay, come with
Uh-huh.
me. So we've basically been together for what, a month, and or a
Yeah.
month, 2 months, and not live together, or being because we live in different areas of the UK. And it was like,
Yeah.
right, we're gonna go and do a ski season together, share a room with each other, and it's like, right, we're effectively getting to know each other properly whilst living in close quarters on the
Yeah, yeah,
mountain. And it
totally,
was
yeah.
for then it was very much right. It's make or break here. It's if this
Yeah,
works, it
yeah, for
works
sure.
amazing. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Fair enough. On your
Yeah,
way. I wish you
but
the
that's
best of luck.
cool, you know? That's really cool, and it's really fun traveling with a partner, you know? Like, it's all the experiences are kinda shared, you know? And it's really, yeah, like, less about partying and, like, being super social all the time, and I think it can be more about, like, actually just enjoying each other's company and the place that you're in, you know? And, like,
True. Very
so it's
true.
it's
I
a
find
different
myself.
experience. Yeah, it's a different
Yeah.
experience, you know?
I've always
So
found
that's cool,
myself when I've
man.
had a partner very focused on other things. Like the traveling, I'm more focused on that. Where if I'm up single and I'm traveling solo, I've always been very social and more of an incentive. Like, right, I'm enjoying this, enjoying this, enjoying this. Other things kind of
Yeah,
might fall
totally.
by the wayside because of that. Then you'll find that
Yeah.
with yourself, obviously. So, sorry, you went from Aspen to Aspen. You did the winter there, and
Yeah.
you had the time off in the
Yeah.
summers. Just saved up a little bit. You're doing that solo.
Yep.
Where from there?
So, I did that for a number of years, and at a certain point, I was like, "Oh, I don't really." So I was working in restaurants, and I actually loved working in restaurants. It was like something I love to do. I've done all kinds of restaurant work over the years, from like really easygoing spots to like high end fine dining and all this different stuff. And for a
Oh,
long
sweet.
time, I thought, maybe that's what I would do for like a career. Maybe
Yeah.
someday I would open my own restaurant or something like that. But I got to a point where I was like, I don't really want to be doing this like my entire life. So I actually found a photography school randomly. That's a kind of a whole nother story. But I enrolled in this photography school, and I started doing the photography school as a 2-year program, and eventually graduated from that, and then got a job at a local paper as a photojournalist. So I was really into photojournalism. It was one of those things where, like, once I discovered it, so I was actually taking this. I'll just give you the short version. I was taking this French class at the local college there. And I went to the first French class, and I was like, man, it was just happened to be an elective. It was in the space that I wanted to fill, you know? And I was like, this is going to be way too hard to like, I'm not willing to put in the effort to learn French right now.
Yeah.
So I dropped the
Let me
class and
guess. Was the
yeah,
intention to go out to Canada and ski up in Canada? So
yeah.
learning French for that.
I was just, I just thought it'd be cool to know French, like I'd
Sweet.
never.
That's even better.
That's pretty much it, yeah. There
That's
was
class.
really no other, like, reason for it as, like, "Oh, I think it'd be cool to learn French," That'd be kinda cool. Um, but I quickly realized that I was like, this is gonna be pretty hard. I'm not sure I'm willing to put in the effort to, like, right now to learn French." So I dropped
Yeah.
the class, and the only other class that was in that time slot was a photojournalism class. And so I took it. It was at a different campus. It was, like, about an hour drive away, so once a week, I would drive an hour to go to this class. And so I went to the class, and I didn't realize at the time, but it's actually part of a whole 2-year professional photography program.
Oh.
And that's like a whole long story, but basically, I got into the program. I had to wait a year. I loved the photojournalism class. It was amazing. And it was one of those things, like surfing or like the Tetris
Yeah.
thing or whatever. It was like I was hooked on it. I was like fully like, yes, this is what I want to
That
do. I'm
that
going
becomes
for
that
this.
gravitational point.
Yeah, I just thought it was the coolest thing. And so I got into the program, and over a couple of years, I finished the program and then got a job at a local newspaper, a daily paper called the Aspen Daily News, and interned for them for a while. Eventually, worked my way all the way up to the chief photographer position, and
Wow.
yeah, it was awesome. I did that for like 4 years. It was the coolest job I ever had. I loved it. But at a certain point, I also was like, you work a lot and you don't get a lot of time off. And I was kind of like, I really want to go travel. And so I ended up leaving
How
the
old are you at this
paper.
point?
So this was probably like maybe 30 at this point. I was probably like 30 years
Yeah,
old. Yeah, something like that. Maybe 31 or something, 31, 32. But so I left the paper and I had some friends that had come out here to Nantucket, which is where I'm at now. And Nantucket is another seasonal location, but it's only a summer season. So it's really busy
yeah.
in the summer months, but completely dead in the winter months.
Is that more
And
kind of sailing, water sports?
yeah, sailing, water sports, fishing. It's beautiful beaches. It's a little more it's like fancy houses. It's really nice restaurants and stuff like that. But it's a really unique, pretty cool community as well. It's a beautiful place. It's very unique. And so I came out here and was just going to work in a restaurant, save the money for the summer, and travel for like 6 months over the winter. And at
Yeah,
the time, I was just like, I just want to buy a one-way ticket because I'd never done that. I only done like 1 month trips before, right? And
yeah,
so I remember it was right around New Year's, and I flew to Vietnam, and one-way ticket to Vietnam, and that was kind of like when I really started doing the long-term, like 6 months a year traveling from
yeah.
that
It
point
just
on.
it hooks you straight away. That once
Yeah,
that
yeah. I
is
mean,
like
it's
embedded
amazing.
into
Yeah,
your head, like there's no
and
getting
of
away from it.
yeah, and of course, like the whole like idea was, yes, I'd love to travel, but I was also like, I want to take my camera and photograph the different places I
Yeah,
go, and like really just kind of focus on getting better at being a photographer. And yeah, so that was kind of the motivation at the time. Um, so yeah, that first trip, which kind of to me, it's like, oh, that was the first big trip I went on. I had gone on lots
yeah,
of other trips before that, but yeah, that was kind of the first big trip I went on. So I went to Vietnam. I bought a motorcycle, drove all through Vietnam, all the way down to the south through Cambodia as well for like almost 2.5 months. And then went to the Philippines. And I think that was, yeah, Philippines. And then maybe that was it on that trip. Um, And then yeah, so then I'd come back here to Nantucket after, 5 or 6 months of traveling and do it all over again. Work another summer, save some
yeah,
money, and go to another place. I did India. Um, Again, I'm into motorcycles as well. So if I'm going somewhere for a long period of time, I usually like will try to find a motorcycle because
yeah.
this is great to have that. And so I did a motorcycle trip through India for 3 months.
Was that
Done
the
Sri
following year then?
Lanka. What's that?
So that was the following year.
Yeah, it might have been. I think maybe that was like a year or two later.
Yeah,
I in between there, I did some time in Sri Lanka. I've been to Sri Lanka a few
yeah,
times. That was kind of one of the spots that I would go to. And I guess during this time too, I discovered surfing more. So
yeah,
nowadays, I'm really kind of like traveling more to these like surf destinations, right? And
yeah,
like going to just mainly just to surf and yeah, like do some traveling as well, but it's really just more to surf now.
yeah. It's taken over. That's when you get a
Yeah,
lot of
which it
with
does.
surfers, and I was reading this thing on the Surfline blog posts not long ago, where he's talking about
Yeah.
these different travel surfers, well, the surfing industry itself. Anyone who's a professional surfer now, it's nothing to do with the competitions. It's all media. It's all like they're
Right.
owned that personal brand, their Instagrams, their socials, and whatnot. And he was
Yeah,
explaining
totally.
how they do their surf trips, and the surf trips that they do, where it's all just based on one wave. The whole thing's based on one wave. Not even the location, not the area that's nearby. They just seen a picture or they've heard a story about one wave at this one
Yeah.
time, and then they'll think, okay, where do I need to be at what time exactly to get the best chance of this one wave? And then the rest of the
Oh
trip is
yeah.
built around that completely. And it's just
Yeah,
it's
it's really cool, and some of those like trips are, they have like some really good production and you know, those are fun to
yeah,
watch. I watch all that stuff all the time.
I
Yeah.
love them.
Yeah.
There's this one at the moment which let me try to find what it was. So we me and Casey, when we first got to where we were, we just got found an advert on Facebook for a premiere for a surf movie, and it was this young girl. I think she's like 18, 19. What was her name? So, oh, I can't remember. Santo. I'm just trying to find it here. Yeah, Ando Santos. and she's 22, sorry, like half Brazilian, half Australian surfer, and it was quite literally in her backyard with her boyfriend. Has played some music beforehand. He's an amazing like saxophone singer. And they had a bit of music on beforehand. It was all their friends in this outdoor, like just in their garden, the lights on everywhere, sitting on the grass, with the sheet up behind them on the wall, the projector showing her first ever surf movie. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this is like I could see straight into that lifestyle and 100% thinking, oh my god, this is amazing. This is just the whole idea of basing your trips around your passion and your hobby, as opposed to just being there. Like you probably know as much as I do. Whenever you travel anywhere, yes, the location's great, but the story behind it and how it felt for you, or the reason you went, is takes over almost when you're there. Like the one thing I didn't want from travel was just to go just to see it. I wanted to have that kind
Yeah.
of goal behind the scene where I wanted to go. I had this pipe dream years and years ago when I was just getting into the whole travel idea, because my dad was always like a born again hippie type,
Mhm.
where he had his first car was his Volkswagen Beetle. Still got it to this
Mhm.
day. We had the Volkswagen campers,
Nice.
traveling camping around the UK for years, and the only reason he didn't go traveling was because I popped along when he was 24. So it was a case of like
Mhm.
it's almost been ingrained in me from a young age to go out and do this kind of thing. And I had
Yeah.
this dream from when I was like growing up from as a teenager, where how cool would it be to do more sort of videography, photography like you did, and where
Yeah.
you'd go out and almost film these areas and not do it so much like a vlog, but it'd be a movie production where you've almost created a story behind it, which you're acting in these locations. So I had like the idea of it was like a treasure hunt kind of thing, where like you're on a treasure hunt and you go into all these different locations, meeting all these different people, and you're
Yeah,
asking
that's
them, just
awesome.
getting random people involved, where it's okay, they've told you a little clue about this area, you need to go through to the jungle to find this spot, and then that takes you all this through to something else. And it's like the idea of just having that to go travel and do all these amazing things with something you are passionate about and you loved at the same time, to me is just the ultimate. It is the ultimate for any
Yeah.
kind of base travel or seeing the world.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that's important. I think as you travel too, I think it changes sometimes. It's definitely changed for me at times, like, the type of traveling you do and what you want to go see and types of things. I mean, I remember I would go. It didn't really matter. It was just like I just wanted to go, like I'd
Yeah,
pick an area, but I've always traveled very like without a super regimented plan.
yeah.
These days I think I have more of a plan just because, but still not much for like what most people would want, I would think.
Well, you
But
don't want that plan really, though. I mean, when we
yeah,
first
because
got to Australia, we we stayed in a hostel, and there's a guy there, and I've heard a few people who do this, which is just bizarre to me, where they're staying for a year or 2 years, and they've printed off a whole itinerary of different places they wanted to be throughout that whole year. And in
uh,
my head, I'm thinking that's bonkers anyway, but I didn't say this to the face. But then when they
yeah,
ended up leaving the hostel, and we just saw in the bin their itinerary. It's like, they've
uh,
got here and then straight away, fuck this. Like, they've been here for a
yeah,
week and they thought, right, I've met some amazing people. Let's just see how this story pans out.
yeah.
Let's see where it takes me.
I mean, sometimes I think it can be good to have like a general idea of maybe what you want to do and where you want to go at what times. But it's like, you know, I think you find the most interesting things when you just kind of like let the wind blow you where it goes. And like
Yeah,
we were talking about earlier, is just being kind of open to, different opportunities and different things that might pop up here and there and being able to be flexible enough to like do those things.
yeah. Well, on that note, then, have you ever had an experience which has stood out to you and stayed with you from that same mindset? From that, okay, let's see how it goes, and being open and receptive to different things. Have you ever had an experience which you would have never had before, which if you didn't take that leap, if you weren't open and receptive to it, it wouldn't have happened? It can be good, it can be bad, it can be crazy, but something that's kind of now a
Yeah.
core memory of yourself, for yourself, which would never have happened if you didn't say hi to this one guy at a bar.
Yeah, well, funny enough, I mean, yeah, I feel like that happens like all the time when you travel, right?
Yeah,
But I guess just one of the things that just popped into my head was actually that first Vietnam trip I was talking about. So I fly all the way to Vietnam. I'm by myself. I stay, I just book some random hostel type of place, didn't really look into it too much. I'm like, just leaving the airport, going to the hospital. Hostel. I go in, and it's just a huge, massive hostel. It's like a skyscraper building. It's big. It's like I don't know, 30 stories high or something. And
Jesus.
yeah, and it's full of all kinds of like rooms and all this stuff. So go, I out of all the rooms, all the places, I go into my room. I get into the bunk bed, and there's a dude above me on the bunk. Danny is his name, and he's Korean. He looks Korean. He's from Korean descent, and then we started chatting, and I was like, "Oh, you're American, right?" Like he has an American accent. He's like, "Yeah, I live in Chicago." He's like, "My family's from Korea originally, but I grew up in Chicago." And I was like, "Oh, cool, man. Like this is night one. This is the first night." And I was like, "Oh, well, what are you doing?" Yada yada yada, all the 20 questions. And he's like, "Yeah, I was thinking about trying to buy a motorcycle and motorcycle through Vietnam." I was like, "Really?" Because that's what I'm trying to
Sweet.
do. Yeah, so he's like a really good buddy. I've met up with him multiple times since then,
Oh my
and
god.
we straight up like bought motorcycles like the next day, and then we traveled together for like the next 2.5 months, like all around. And sometimes you just meet people that it was super easy. Like we're both easygoing, and like it was cool
PLUs.
to have someone that wanted to do the same thing, and we're both into motorcycles. So yeah, one of those things. It's like if you just keep, like the chances of that happening are so low. It's like I wasn't
It
meeting very
almost
many Americans there, So
it seems so weird to me, like exactly what you're just saying, where it's just on the first night in this massive hotel, the odds and the chances
yeah,
of it. But how the amount of times whenever you're out there in the open and you're, as you say, you're receptive to these things,
yeah.
everything almost feels so serendipitous how it happens, how it comes
Oh yeah,
across, and
man.
how it ends up happening. And then one thing to another, you're thinking,
Yeah,
how on earth has this actually just happened? Like, if you actually sit down and think back to it, it's like, "Wow, that was the first day, the first night, he was at the bunk above me. And this has
yeah.
spread on to what happened from there and changed your whole trajectory."
Yeah, and it's like, I think it's not just with traveling, but with all types of relationships and life in general. If you stay positive and you can easily the universe is going to give you what you want if you want it. If you look
Yeah,
in the right places and you stay open to everything and you stay positive, it's going to happen. Like I have no doubt that it'll happen.
I love that.
But
I
if you
love that.
go with a different kind of attitude where, like things are harder to happen to you if you have the wrong attitude towards stuff, I would say.
Yeah.
That's my own personal thoughts, but yeah.
I feel like it's almost that kind of Bruce Lee-esque "be like water" kind of thing, where if you're going
Yeah,
with
for
the flow,
sure.
it'll take you. If you go with the flow, it'll take you everywhere you want to go, and a few places you don't. If you're just that
Yeah.
stone at the bottom of the sea, you're going to stay right there while everything else passes
Oh
along, whilst
yeah.
you're still fixed in that
Oh
moment.
yeah. It's so true, and it's sometimes it's easy to forget about, but the world has a way of humbling you pretty quickly sometimes if you need to remember.
It gives you what you need, not what you want.
Yeah, that's right.
And sometimes you need that pick me up. Sometimes you need that slap around the face, like, "Come on, wake up,
Yeah,
what are you doing?"
it's good. It's good to get humbled every once in a while. That's one of the things I love about surfing, actually. It's like
Yeah, tell me
you try
about
to
it.
get too cocky about surfing, and no matter how good of a surfer you are, the ocean will find ways to humble you pretty quickly.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely got a lot to do with the whole to explain the whole what's the traditional stereotypical surfer type chilled out vibe is that
Yeah,
it it's something you carry with you for everything. Oh, sorry, everything else that you do. Where okay,
yeah,
every time you've got cocky, every time you thought you were all this, and you're trying to show off to somebody else who's in the lineup, and then every single
yeah,
time, without fail, you will get slammed, you'll wipe out,
yeah,
you'll be dragged along the floor, and everyone's seen it. And it's
yeah.
like, okay, yeah, I can't do that. And then you see it. It's so funny to see because once you've learned that lesson through one thing, well, say you never truly learn that lesson, but once it's happened to you enough where you're in that state of okay, let's just go with it. You see somebody else come along where you were beforehand years ago or however long ago, and they're doing the same thing, and you're like, knew it, knew it. Let's just smile. Let's just pick them back up.
I
They'll learn their
know.
lesson eventually. Nothing I can say.
Yeah, I mean, that's life, you know. That's how we're just humans. We make mistakes every day, all the time. You know, it's just a matter of learning from them.
Yeah, exactly that. And then even then, if you don't learn from your mistakes, it's still a fun ride regardless.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, you learn a lot from those slams. Surfing, for myself, obviously, I'm picking up surfing now. I surfed a lot when I
Yeah.
was young. Well, I'll say a lot. I surfed when I was younger. Obviously, as I said, with
Uh-huh.
my dad and my family taking the camper out to took us on surf lessons
Uh-huh.
when we were kids around
Yeah,
the
nice.
UK, and then we took one surf trip to Costa Rica when I think I was around 10.
Yeah, all
And it
right.
was just amazing from there. And then I just didn't touch it for years and years, and then tried to get back into it um, when I was a little bit older, through just tail
Yeah.
end of COVID. Went
Yeah.
to Wales, some surf
Uh-huh.
spots in Pembrokeshire with some friends, did a lesson, and then just went out a couple of times from there. And then that was how I ended up going to Portugal in the first place. The
Oh,
idea
yeah,
was
cool.
I had this job where I was doing a week on, week off, and that was one of my
Yeah.
and on my
Oh,
weeks
yeah, that's
off.
right. Yeah, yeah, I remember
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
so I was doing 7 days on, 1 p.m. to 1 a.m., 7 days off completely. So it was basically a full time job, but squeezed into 1 week. And
Right,
it paid
right,
very well because of the hours and how shit the job was.
right.
So it gave me that liberty because I wanted to do a lot of travel, but I didn't have the money and I didn't want to wait. Obviously, just being
Yeah,
impatient,
yeah.
and that's where one of the first trips I decided to take was right. I want to go surf properly. I've been surfing a few times in the UK. How hard could it be to just go out somewhere else? Look to the best surf places around Europe. Ericeira, Portugal comes up.
Yeah.
Beautiful surf town, amazing place. It's earlier in the season, like so just
Yeah.
pre peak season,
Yeah.
and then just by chance you're there as well. Isaac as well.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
Isaac to pieces still. Went out on the first day. I went out with Christian, was his name, the guy who worked in the hostel.
Yeah, I mean, I don't yeah, I think it was Christian, yeah.
The shorter guy, long hair, and he was like, "Yeah, sure, let's go out on the surf."
Yeah.
And I basically not really surfed at all properly, and I was like, "Yeah, I found it really easy doing some of the white stuff and some of the less intense, less powerful waves. Didn't understand
Uh-huh.
sort of the force behind it or the tides or
Yeah.
the swell at all. I decided, yeah, let's fucking go. Let's jump in it, let's go. And I got there. I remember just stepping into the water, being like, I was not even on the board, we weren't even out the back or anything like that. I was just holding my board and I got wiped out whilst walking out. And I was like, oh shit, what's going on here? What is going
Yeah.
on? And then he was watching me thinking, laughing like, oh, it's just a mistake. We get out there, I can barely even sit on my board properly. And like he's catching these waves. And then my contact lens comes out straight away and I'm getting more and more frustrated. It's starting to rain. I feel like the universe is against me. And as you already know, especially with surfing, it's like surfing and golf, the main two things I can think of, but anything in life really. Where as soon as something starts to go wrong and your head starts to unscrew a little bit and you're getting frustrated, it just spirals and spirals and
Yeah, I mean,
spirals.
yeah, surfing is so much like that. It that's I think why it's so addicting to people. Because well, for one, it's really hard. So I picked up surfing later in life too. I think I started surfing when I was like 30 or something like that. So it's like hard. That's the hardest thing I've ever tried to learn. You know, it's like so
Yeah,
hard, and you can't just do it every once in a while. Like you kind of just if you really want to learn to anyone who like listens to this, if you want to learn how to surf, then you just kind of have to go somewhere and surf like all the time, and it takes a long time. It takes years. You get your
yeah,
ass kicked for years, and then eventually you get it. You know, but
yeah,
it's one of those things that once you start getting it, you're like obsessed with it, you know? And it translates to other parts of your life too, because first of all, it's so fun. Second of all, it's really good for your body. It's like a great workout. You know, you get in great shape when you surf a lot. You know, you get tan because you're out in the, if you're in a tropical area, you're just gonna look the best you've ever looked, right? And it's free. So once you don't have
yeah.
to usually pay to go surfing, you just go out and surf, which is really cool. And it's like you said just now, it teaches you a lot of things. It teaches you how to respect the ocean, and it teaches you, how to be humble, and when things do go wrong, to stay calm, because if you freak
Yeah.
out, that's going to be the worst thing that you could do. And yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff, and
It's
it really does kind of like change you in a lot of ways.
exactly. I mean, that's the main thing about learning anything. A lot of people say you get a
Yeah,
different perspective when you learn a new language or when
yeah.
they do anything new for the first time. And it's at the beginning, when you just look from the outside in, you don't know how much you don't know. You feel
That's right.
like I was the exact same as But oh yeah, it looks reasonably easy. And let's be honest, some things are like I went to skiing. I was snowboarding. I went to skiing. I never really tried skiing before. I just picked it up. And I was like, yeah, it's pretty fucking easy. Like I could do this, not to a great level, but I could jump
Yeah,
parallel. I could stop. I could turn. I could.
a
I
much
felt
easier
confident.
sport to learn than surfing for
Yeah.
sure.
But then you take
Yeah.
it to things like surfing, or another example. I've started doing jujitsu whilst I'm out here, and it's like
Yeah,
very
cool.
straight away. That mindset. It's not so much learning the skill and the ability to do it, or strengthening your body or whatnot. It's the mindset that you develop whilst practicing. The mindset you develop whilst doing it over and over because you have to, or else you're not going to get better. That's something that
Yeah.
once you've built those connections in your head, that stays with you through almost everything else that you do. You take on any new
Yeah.
project or any new adventure, or even meeting any new person, you humble yourself straight away. You've got to have respect for others. You've got to keep going even when things aren't working your way. You've got to have the stamina
Yeah,
for it.
man.
You've
I
got to
mean,
have that
it's that's life.
persistence. That's
That's
life.
life,
That's
man.
life. And surfing's a perfect metaphor for that. I
Yeah, it
love that
is.
idea of the skills you take from one thing being applicable to another in some
Well,
kind of
totally. I mean,
metaphorical
everything's
way.
like that. Yeah, everything's like that. And honestly, like surfing and these days too, like I'm really kind of getting more and more into like personal development and
Yeah,
obviously like eating better and exercising and like meditation and I don't really do much
yeah,
yoga. It's just not really something I've gotten into, but just consciously being a better person, right?
yeah.
And if you
Exactly
work
that.
on those things, and not a better person for anyone else, but a better person for myself. So, like all of those things encompassing will just make your life so much better. It'll make you better at the things that you're interested in, whether it's surfing or traveling or photography or whatever it may
Yeah,
be. You're going to be way better at those things if you just take the time to like work on yourself and your own thoughts and like all that kind of stuff.
exactly that. It's for me
Yeah.
that exact same process is the ultimate form of self-respect.
Yeah, for sure.
It's and it's so counterintuitive the way that these things work. Where when you're younger, you feel that being confident at things and putting your best foot forward and being stronger at those things mean you're going to get better at them. But in actual fact, in order to get better at things, you also need to see your weaknesses and see how you're not great at these things. Where
Yeah.
it's almost like I love the idea of I had this quote that stuck out to me so much and I've kept with myself, which is a stupid person thinks they're really smart, and a smart person thinks they're really stupid.
Yeah, totally.
And it's
Well,
and
it's
it's that case of
yeah.
in order to become a better person, you have to see yourself as what you are, and then not just beat yourself up and think you're terrible at it, but then on the other hand, you've got to see, okay, that's amazing. There's room for improvement, and it's great that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
It's great that you
I
don't know
heard this good
everything. It's
one.
humbling yourself.
Yeah, I heard this good one the other day. I love quotes, and I have it
Me
written
too.
down somewhere. I have it written down. I have like so many quotes like written down in my phone, but
Me
it was
too. Me
something
too.
along the lines like I have it right here. Hold on, I'm gonna find it. Let me see, because it was a good one. I liked it. Um, it was basically like, let me see here. I have it written somewhere here. Just gotta find it in the journal here of all kinds of random stuff everywhere.
I know I'm the exact same. I have so many quotes written down. I love quotes themselves. They have meaning beyond the
Yeah.
letters.
All right. So here's this. Nature gave us pain to know. If I could read my own handwriting, nature gave us pain. What the hell does that say? To know. Oh yeah, nature gave us pain to know our limits. Only in pain is where we can grow. I just love that.
Yeah,
That's great. You know.
exactly that. I had so you know what, I've actually started more recently because I'm doing my personal training out here, and I've started my own page, just that community page under the
Yeah.
same
Right
name,
on.
just to grow and help other people. Where it's more like those kind of film videography type stuff with the quotes and stuff behind them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's one of them here, and I like to use quotes from either celebrities or famous people or inspirational people as well as
Yeah.
writing my own, because I find it very therapeutic in the morning to sit there and write my own inspirational thoughts for myself, and hopefully to help
Yeah.
others at the same time. But there's one of them here which I put on, which was from think it was Denzel Washington. He was doing a speech, and I
Uh-huh.
don't know if you can hear this. Actually, I'll put it on. See if it. Yeah, you'll be able to hear it. Here we go. There we go.
Never give up, fall down 7 times, get up 8. There's a great threat to progress than hardship.
Stuff like that, and I just love it to pieces.
Yeah.
And it's like the
Oh, I
things that
love
keep
that,
you going,
man.
you've got to keep telling yourself, and especially when it comes to personal progression, it's always for me. I always found that, as you already know, you have those two voices, at least two voices of those that inner dialogue of the positive, the negative, the
Oh yeah.
angel and the devil on your shoulder,
Yeah,
and
man.
being able to see both of those things, and you have to have both of those things in different regard, where you've got to be humble enough to see your flaws and to know you're not good enough, but then also have the confidence and the belief that you are at the same time. And it's finding
Yeah,
that juxtaposition is what creates the full thing. And
for
then,
sure, man. And it's an ongoing path, it's never gonna end. It's something that you have to work on your whole life,
well, you
and
work on
it's
it, but
it,
then at the
it,
same
it, there's
time,
there's ups and downs, and like sometimes you're gonna feel like great, and other times you're not, and that's just natural. That's just how it's gonna be,
yeah. There's another quote I absolutely love to pieces along that side, where is it you have to work on it, but you don't have to work on it. It's you're already everything at the same time. There's a great
Yeah,
quote. I think I heard it from a guy called Sadhguru. Firstly, I think, or along these lines, where it is an empty hand holds everything. An
yeah,
empty hand
yeah. I
holds the
like that.
entire universe.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
it's a case
Yeah,
of
no, it's
that.
it's it's good stuff, man. It keeps you it's good to keep thinking and just keep on trying to become better, no matter what you're trying to do with your life. So that's what
Yeah.
I'm doing these days. I definitely have taken a little step back as far as traveling as much. So I'm about ready to start doing some more traveling. So I'm doing this Japan trip, and then definitely gonna do another trip and go do some surfing after that. And then I'll
When do you leave
probably
for Japan?
I leave for Japan on the 23rd of this month, January 23rd.
Sweet. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. So, and I'm going with like a group. Like I got a few buddies that I'm going with, so that'll be kind of cool. It's like, I already
Yeah.
mentioned that I did a lot of like solo traveling in the past. So this is going to be a little different style of a trip. It's a group trip. A lot of the stuff is going to be a little bit more like planned out. It's like, oh, we're going to be in this area. We got a place in this area for this long, and then we're going to go to this spot. We have a place there for this long. So it's
Yeah.
not kind of the usual like fly, go where the wind blows type of trip, but I'm
Yeah.
still
I mean,
excited.
it'll
It's
probably
gonna
end
be
up that way.
fun. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so I'm gonna do that, and then gonna be coming back here like mid-February, and then I have about 2 more months of doing something. So I haven't fully decided on what to do, but I want to go somewhere where I can surf and where it's warm and tropical, and that's the plan. So
Yeah. I know that is the plan, and hopefully at some point we'll see each other along that journey. I know for me, myself
Yeah,
and
dude, I
Katie.
love it, man. Are you planning you mentioned that you might do a season in a ski resort area, yeah?
Yeah, so I'll say a season. So we've been seasonaires before, where it's a fixed job. They sort out all your accommodation, and you're doing that job as
Yeah.
part of your visa, and it's great.
Yeah.
It's amazing fun. You meet so many amazing people, and it's a time of your life you're not going to forget. But to
Yeah.
me, it doesn't feel like enough of a challenge. I don't feel like I'm
Yeah.
fending for myself. I feel like I'm actually fully living. Where Australia
Yeah, yeah.
itself is more of that. So our plan at the moment, obviously everything changes. We haven't got a fixed plan in particular,
Yeah.
but we love the idea of staying out here. Well, we've got 2 years on the visa, but we probably just think one is good enough for what
Uh-huh.
we've got. Work for so long whilst we're here, and then go for another 4 to 6 months working here. Save up everything we've got basically, whilst doing a job that we love. Like I'm doing this, Peter personal training, Katie's doing her childcare, and then from that I want to spend this time developing different projects, which who knows where they'll lead in the future. Like the
Yeah.
podcast I'm doing with yourself now. I love the idea of just speaking to people who've lived amazing lives, and who knows, in years to come, I could get to speak to some truly, like yourself, truly more and more incredible people, and have that conversation with them about life in general.
Yeah,
and
man.
then
I love that.
focusing on those projects and surfing a lot whilst I'm here. I'm about to go surf after we hang up this call.
I'm
Now,
jealous, man.
yeah, we're in a place called Freshwater. If you want to Google it, have a look. It's actually the
Okay.
place. It's the first place that surfing was brought to in Australia.
Oh,
They've got
really?
a plaque on the board of the guy who brought surfing to Australia there, and
Oh, no shit.
it is the host of the first ever surfing world championship.
Oh, really?
Whenever that was.
Freshwater.
Yeah, it's not incredible surf. It's great. Obviously, everywhere's shore breaks and it's great surf, average surf everywhere in Australia, pretty much.
Yeah.
Especially on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But it's not like you expect a world championship to be now, but it's for what it was when it first started. It's got that heritage to it. It's a beautiful little spot, a little cove.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, sorry. To say what we're going to do this for the next 4 months or so. Save up working here, spend the rest of our year traveling around Australia when we've got the money saved up. We can still just have fun without having to work. From there, we want to do about 3 or 4 months Southeast Asia, do the whole thing, get some motorbikes, quad bikes, whatever it might be.
That's the best. That's the best trip, man. You'll love it.
Oh, we're gonna absolutely love it, and then that will lead us up until the beginning of the winter. Because I think the winter season in Japan starts a little bit later, more like December to mid-December, as opposed to some of them in November.
Yeah, so we're specifically going this time because it's supposed to be the best time for like the conditions. So
Also
like
busiest, but
December, January are kind of like the start of the winter.
yeah, I mean you have it's a little bit later of a season, or a shorter season especially.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
doing that out there, I want to be doing that. Katie wants to do like private nannying, and we're both going to do our ski and snowboard instructor courses whilst we're there. Because
Right on.
why the hell not? So
Yeah.
Katie can do. She's coming up now with a skateboard. Katie, come say hi to Cary. He's on video, yeah. But yeah, so she wants to be able to do nannying out there privately, where she can take the kids out on the slopes. And then I want to just do my personal training out there as well and continue developing what we're doing. Again, from there, no idea. We did write in a book, like literally the next 10 years of places we want to go to. We had our list of our favourite places to go to and things we wanted to achieve along that journey. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's from a ginger beer. Beautiful.
Look at that.
Woman.
What a girl.
What a woman. Yeah. And then, who knows? I mean, it's, as you know, it's a journey of a lifetime, and it is what life's about, what life's made of.
I'm stoked for you, man. That sounds amazing.
Cheers.
And
Katie,
hey, how are you? I'm Cary.
Katie.
Nice to meet you.
I got my headphones in, but but yeah, it's wonderful, man. Honestly, it's great.
I love
speaking with people like yourself. And yes, we met beforehand. We had great chats then and did loads of amazing things in Portugal.
Yeah.
But it really just helps to reignite that flame you have for life and the things that you're doing at the moment, because
Totally,
it helps
man.
you to realize.
So
it definitely
good.
helps me. It definitely helps me to sort of put things in perspective and see that that spark within people is like, oh, it's there, and it's just like, oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful, man. I love you, Cary.
I love it too, man. I love it too. It's the best thing when you can, talk to like-minded people about this kind of stuff. It's it gets you all fired up and ready to go.
Yeah, PLUs.
Great.
PLUs. Maybe you taught me that
PLUs. Yes, PLUs. You remember that?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, dude.
It's stuck with me, man. They stick with me.
I still tell people PLUs. Only sometimes. Only when it's valid. It's a valid time.
You've got to keep it. It's a club. It's a club.
You can't just throw around a
but you've got to earn the title. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't just throw it out there to anybody.
Yeah, everyone's got it within them, but you've got to earn the title through conversations like this.
That's right, man. I love that. It's the best. So that wasn't mine. I was told that by someone a long time ago too, so I can't take credit for it, but I love it. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah, sorry, PLUs is people like us.
People like us, yeah.
People like us.
So that's I always tell people it's like, hey, like you're bringing over a friend maybe to your buddy's house party or something like that, and they don't really know anything. Like, oh, who's that? And it's like, oh, don't worry about him. He's a PLU, And then you're like, oh, it's PLU, all good. And you're like, oh no, they're not PLUs, but they're fine. You can still be a cool and not be a PLU. You're just not a PLU.
I mean, it's your own reputation on the line as well, because if they're not, that looks bad on you.
Exactly.
So I always see it's like when like you say, when you're introducing someone, like say you go to your local bar or pub, like, you know, and then like
Yeah.
somebody's at the door and they won't let them in, but they're letting you in. It's like, that's okay, man. He's one of us. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
so
exactly.
come on in. Come on into the back room, to the smoke room. You can join the
Yeah,
table.
yeah. I love that.
Not
Yeah.
in a cocky way, but more so in a like, he's just a really nice guy.
No, that's the way good things work, you know.
Yeah, and I love that, and I use it myself as well with people sparingly, as you
Good.
say. But
I'm glad. That's awesome, man. That makes me feel good. I like that.
but yeah, Cary, I've just got to say before I shoot off and go hit the surf. But thank you very much for coming on. I know it took a bit of time and scheduling, obviously different countries, time zones and whatnot. But I appreciate yourself for being you and just spending the time
Ah,
to come and chat with me. If not for anything else, just for a catch up, because I've missed you, man. It's
yeah,
been great.
man. Well, I appreciate it, dude. I was so stoked to hear from you and happy to do it. And yeah, I had fun, man. It was a good time. And let's catch up again soon. I'll be paying attention to your adventures. And yeah, brother, get
And
some
yours
sick
as well.
waves.
You need to post more. You need to post more. At least some stories. Let me see what you're up to. Because for a
I
while I
know.
saw it, and then
It's actually one of
I
it's
get you.
what
Go on, sorry.
it's one of my resolutions. I'm gonna be a little more active on the posting. So
Yeah,
it's
not for any.
it's gonna happen.
So not for anything ego related, just more so because I love to see what like some great people are up to. I love to see what
I
people
know,
I've
and
connected
I
with are
mean
up
that's the
to,
thing.
and
It's like people like are actually like, dude, what the hell? Why don't you ever post anything? And I'm like, I don't know. Okay, yes, I'll post some stuff. Yeah,
it's always that dilemma in your head, isn't it? It's like, is it you're posting it for yourself or for others? But honestly, believe me, you've got at least one person out here who just loves to see what you're up to and what you're doing,
I
because
know,
it's
and that's
always
how
looks
people think.
amazing
You
and
know,
looks
it's
fun.
like for me, like I'm not a huge like I don't really love the attention to be honest, and that's kind of why I don't do it. But it is cool because like everybody gets to see it and that's what people
Yeah,
love these days. They want to see what your adventures are. And so, yeah, I am going to make it a point to post more. And I got
yeah.
years and years and years of stuff to post. So,
Oh, that's what I mean. Like, I see, especially when you meet PLUs, like we say, I love, especially whilst traveling and people who love to travel. You see that
yeah,
they're up to so many amazing things where it's not just a usual on a night out at the bar with some friends
yeah,
or
yeah,
around your local area, or they're always doing something, and to me, them posting it for me is that I can see that they're enjoying what they're doing and they're loving it. They've wanted to
yeah,
capture
man.
this memory and share it. I want to see what they're up to because I love that they're having a great time and living their lives.
Yeah, totally, man.
But yeah, anyway, Cary, thank you very
All
much.
right, brother. Yeah, well,
I
thanks for
appreciate
having
you.
me on. And it was awesome to talk to you, bro.
Love you, man. Take care.
All right. All right. Best of
Bye.
luck.
And you. Bye.